Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about Sony ZV-1. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. So it's a camera made with vloggers in mind. So we will test its ergonomy, vlogging capabilities, video capabilities, photo capabilities, and all the special functions are there. So let's get right into it. So ergonomically, it's a small camera, so you don't expect any miracles. However, I feel like it's a really nice made camera with nice ergonomy. So all the buttons that you would need are here, and you have the quick menu and menu button on the back. Of course, the rotating thing with joystick, kind of joystick, and like some function buttons. Nothing spectacular, but everything you need is here. What I like about this camera that if you open the screen, it automatically turns on, and when you close the screen with this plastic part on top, then it automatically closes the camera, which is pretty huge. You also have an input for flash strobes, and you have this dead cat to cover your microphone system, and it's the same dead cat and probably the same microphone system that you can find in ZV-10. When it comes to all the connectivity, you have microphone input for external microphone, which is great. You have a micro USB for charging and micro HDMI for external signal. Micro USB, like Sony, why? Please upgrade this camera with USB-C. I mean, I really want to just be able to stick to one charging standard, which is USB-C, and I hope it will be a reality soon. It's a small thing, so I won't be complaining too much, but hey, I would love it to be different. When it comes to modes, to buttons, there's one interesting button that, there are two interesting buttons actually. So there's a different shutter button and different recording button, and there's one button that is designed only to give you a blur of background. So if you are afraid that 1-inch sensor is not, cinematic enough, you can use this function, and it will blur background for you. And I tested this function, and you can see it right now. Okay, so as you can see, the background is blurred or not blurred, and it really gives a nice looking image. There are other special options here, like product presentation, so you can basically present something and place it in front of you, and camera will automatically detect that you are presenting something and will switch focus from your face to the product. Let's see how that works. As you can see, it works pretty nice. So I'm putting phone in front of my face. This is like Xperia Pro 1, and it works pretty nice. So that function works flawlessly. And now let's talk about autofocus performance, so how it tracks your face. And again, like when it's come to face tracking, it is really doing a good job. You can see my wife moving around, and it just does the job. When it comes to face tracking, also it's very important for vloggers because you want a camera to do all the job for you. So in this case, I found this camera also like doing a very good job, no problems at all. You can check my vlog tests right now. You can see how my face is sharp, and there's no problem. I'm walking with the camera. You can walk in the evening, like on that shot, and there's no problem at all. So, in low light, it does the job. In full sun, it does the job. So autofocus wise, it's really cool. And this camera does have a touch screen. So when you touch a point, somewhere on the screen, you can track this object, and it works very good too. Touch screen only for autofocus, not for menu. So don't expect that, but all the buttons here are pretty convenient, so it shouldn't be a big problem. The other thing I love about this camera is a built-in ND filter. So basically, instead of buying something crazy on AliExpress and trying to put it in front of your camera, if you want more motion blur and if you want to decrease amount of light, it does give you this option. So it does have a built-in ND filter, which is, I think, great for such a small package. When we are talking about great things for such a small package, it also packs a flat profile. So for those of you who would like to grade your video heavily, it's a good news, because SRX 100 series It does include flat profiles like S-Log2, S-Log3 and HLG, which is pretty cool. I tested those flat profiles in low light, as you can see now, or tested it also in you know, like very bright day. Honestly, with 8-bit recording, I'm not a big fan of, both are overexposed because S-Log needs to be overexposed, so those are overexposed by 2 stops. That's a very important disclaimer here, and it looks pretty good. However, coming back to 8-bit, I'm not a big fan of using flat profiles with 8-bit recording because honestly, like 10-bit is a different story and it gives you way more room for grading. 8-bit, I prefer to just, you know, tweak the camera to make the image like look good out of the camera and then just do a little bit of adjustments in post, maybe a little bit like 10-20% of opacity, and that's what I do. And I feel like Sony profile, the natural profile, looks pretty good. Okay, let me just check on my phone what else did I test. Okay, so focus breathing, it's another test for those who want to shoot videos. You can see for yourself that focus breathing when refocusing from you know, close objects to further objects is minimal. You could see sometimes that it struggles, but it's very rare and very unnoticeable, so I feel like that it's doing a great job. Now let's talk about optics quality and photography mode. So optically, this lens is pretty cool, like from 24. So as you can see for yourself, there's no barrel effect or there's no pincushion effect on 70. It's pretty bright, it's 1.8 to 2.8, and from 1.8 to, or from 2.8, depending on the, you know, focal length, these lens is sharp from corner to corner, which is kind of expected from 1-inch sensor camera, but hey, it's great to have a sharp lens from corner to corner. The only warning and the only flaw in this lens that I found is when you close it to 11, specifically on longer f-stops, no, the focal length, sorry, then you know, the sharpness drops dramatically. And I wouldn't basically recommend 70mm with f11, which will probably be a very rare configuration. However, if you want a sharp pictures, I wouldn't stop it down more to f9. And this is like where this lens shines, and it's very sharp, and I have no issues or whatsoever. And when it comes to dynamic range in photography, like these RAW files, they look very good. And I was surprised because I thought that after, you know, spending like years in full frame world, I will hate these pictures from 1-inch sensor, but it's not the case. As you can see, those pictures look pretty nice. There's not a lot of noise. And even in very contrasty shadow versus highlight situation, it did pretty good job, specifically after, you know, post-processing. So photography-wise, it's not bad. Now let's take a look at night shots and high ISO situations. For example, you can see this abandoned church close to my apartment here, and it's looking good. I mean, up to 1600 to me is very usable. 3200, 6400, not that much, but it depends where, because on bright parts of the picture, it doesn't show like a lot of grain, but in darker parts of picture, specifically if you want to, you know, drag the shadows up in post, then it starts to show up a lot of grain, which is kind of expected. Again, this is 1-inch sensor, so don't expect miracles. However, 1600 is totally enough to do vlogging in the evening in the city. Like, let's say you visited some Asian city, you want to see some nightlife, that's perfectly fine, and no problems at all. And now take a look at the video of like city market here in the night. Up to 1600 again, I feel like it's doing pretty good job. 3200 still doable, but you know, it's like already grainy for me. But anything above that is I wouldn't bother, honestly. The other thing that I love about this camera is its versatility. So low light, we got it closed. Versatility, so you can it automatically can switch to macro mode, and macro mode is something cool, something nice if you want to shoot B-roll of some details, of some food, and you can see for yourself that you can get pretty close with that camera to the object, which is wonderful, and it works pretty good. And basically automatic functions in this camera, they work very good. For those who want some professional you know, touch, you can see that on the screen you can see like levels of audio input. You can have like leveling tool, which is something that I use a lot, and you know, everything is pretty much the same as in more professional or semi-professional cameras from Sony. So, and that's good, honestly, that's really good. The microphone quality, now let's talk about sound quality. I did some tests, so now you can hear how the microphone sounds with that cat on, and just no, no microphone, no external microphone, just the built-in one. Sorry, I did the test in Polish and I had to give this camera back, so tak brzmi nagranie prosto z aparatu Sony ZV-1 z nałożonym deadcatem. Okay, you heard some foreign language that most of you probably don't understand. Some of you that follow my channel and are Polish, they do understand what I'm saying, but it doesn't matter. The quality is honestly very good and I was super surprised, and I'm tempted to buy this camera for me because I feel like it's doing a great job as a very light camera that you can hold pretty much all day long, no problem, and it's just all in one package that is smaller than my wide-angle, compact wide-angle lens for a full frame. This is f4.0, f2.8 is even bigger, and I use this lens a lot for interiors. Of course, I will still keep shooting this interiors with this lens, but take a look at that. This is the comparison. So the lens is heavier itself and bigger than the camera with the lens and microphone and everything, So when it comes to, like comfort, this is the sweet spot, and I feel like this camera is doing great. The flaw that I found is that while you are zooming in, the zoom mechanism is making a lot of noise, so if you want to record audio while zooming, it's not the best idea. However, you have two zoom speeds. So zoom speed, slower zoom speed, sounds pretty decent, it's not that bad. And faster zoom, and it looks cinematic, and faster zoom is like, yeah, nothing spectacular, nothing too cool, so definitely something to consider. And another thing to consider and to remember about is to buy two of these batteries. Those batteries are pretty small and it will die pretty soon. Not too soon, however. I was nicely surprised. I thought it would die sooner, but still, if you want to do vlogging and if you want to travel the world with this little body here, then think of 2 or 3 batteries. And now let's talk about stabilization. This is very important part of it. So stabilization is like either off, either normal, or active. So off, obviously the footage, as you can see, is pretty shaky. When it's on, it's pretty okay. I wasn't paying attention to how I hold the camera. I was just walking with it, and it's doing pretty decent job. Nothing spectacular, but it's totally okay. Electronic and combined with the mechanical, it's like optical, it's like, it's very stable, but I would rather like record with stabilization, like normal stabilization, this optical one. And if I need extra stabilization, you can always do it in post-production, but the one that is already done in the camera, if it destroys your picture, and it does it a lot because you have this jelly, funky looking, footage, then I wouldn't bother, basically. Nice to have it, but nothing spectacular. Okay, to sum up, small, capable camera with great photography and videography capabilities, nice 4K. You get also like extra feature, you get slow motion full HD and 120 frames per second. You get 240 frames per second. That still looks good. Anything above that, I would just forget about it, but you can look for yourself. 240 still looks pretty decent. So if you want some super epic slow motion, this camera also does amazing job. Built-in microphone works fantastic. It's magic. I wouldn't recommend it for interiors because you get a lot of bouncing sound, this can effect or whatever you call it. But outside, it's just doing amazing job, and you don't really need an external microphone. I compared external with internal, and honestly, I liked internal even slightly better. However, it was very comparable. Screen is nice, the brightness of it is pretty nice. The thing you want to remember about, however, if you want to see yourself all the time, don't look sideways to the screen because it looks strange. However, if you want to monitor yourself, you need to know that on 4K, 24 or whatever frames per second, it dims a little bit, so it doesn't, you cannot get this sunny weather look. To save on battery and save probably on temperature, it dims the screen, so you can still see yourself, see that you're filming yourself. However, it's not very comfortable in full bright sun when you're filming yourself in 4K. Otherwise, I would definitely like this camera more than a vlogging setup like M50 from Canon, but that's just my opinion because M50 is super popular and I didn't mind using it also, and you can find a review on my channel, and it's a pretty decent camera. However, as a compact package, that package is basically winner to me, and it does amazing job. If you just buy yourself a selfie stick or little, you know, tripod, like travel tripod, to extend this distance between you and your face and your surrounding a little bit, because of 24mm at the very beginning, which is not ideal for vlogging camera, then you have a really nice package. Okay guys, I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget about thumbs up, please subscribe, don't forget to leave comments below. Any questions, any things that I forgot, just let me know down below, and I see you guys in the next one.